Welcome to the Fly Guys podcast with Justin Goodhart and Cameron Klein.
And with that, a wonderful introduction from the terrific Ilana Vega Binstock. Welcome, everybody. As she already mentioned, my name is Justin Goodhart. This here is Cameron Klein, and you are listening to the 211th edition. I think the 211th edition. It's either the 12th or the 11th of the Fly Guys podcast. And we come to you in mid-August of 2025 as Cameron wears his Miami Dolphins Zach Thomas Hall of Fame hat. Class of 2023. He went to Canton, Ohio, enjoyed the induction ceremony, and I went there earlier this summer, and it wasn't quite the same as what you experienced because you actually got to be there for the game and all that stuff. But Cameron, how you doing today?
I gotta say, brother, got the new intro. Gonna be having new music. It's 60-some degrees here in Massachusetts today. We are weeks away from September.
Mm-hmm.
We're back, baby. I can't wait. I can't wait. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to talk about the Flyers. We're the 25 under 25 is hitting, coming this week from Broad Street Hockey. We're back. Sports are back. We're coming back. Football's back. I can't be more excited, dude. I'm genuinely honest. Like the fantasy mock drafts are flying right now.
Yeah.
I'm just riding high. I might even be doing one right now that I forgot about. I don't know.
Let me tell you something.
I'm so jacked up, dude. I'm so happy. That intro fired up as well. Oh my Lord, dude. Yeah,
she's a star in the making.
So in so many words, I'm feeling good. Feeling pretty good. Feeling all good.
Now, you could say, Cameron, it's a new era of Fly. We're in our new era.
Yeah. Here's the
Tweet
thing.
Swizzle out here making new albums. We're making new eras here for the Fly Guys podcast.
Yeah, I don't know what the next slogan is going to be for the Flyers. I just don't care really. The slogan never meant anything to me. So whatever, dude.
Yeah. But here's the thing. You mentioned like we're weeks away. Further away, you say it's like 60 degrees out in Marblehead. It is around like 75-ish here today. It was very comfortable. I had the windows open during work today. It was very, very nice. And, even more than that, it was that crisp air of like, it's coming. NFL football season, college football season. Your Saturdays are about to be taken up with the noon slot, the 3 o'clock slot, and then you've got your night games, on ABC and ESPN. And then the next day you wake up and you're waiting for the 1 o'clock kickoff games, your 4:25 games, your 8:20 Sunday night football games. And it puts me in such a mood, Cameron, to talk about football, and specifically the two-time Super Bowl champions, the defending Super Bowl champions. God, that's so cool to say. We have as many Super Bowls as the Miami Dolphins now. This is crazy.
Yeah.
The Philadelphia Eagles. So much to write about this team, and so much I've seen said about this team. You had quarterback rankings from ESPN putting Jalen Hurts as the 9th best quarterback in the NFL, below guys like Jared Goff, Matthew Old Man Stafford, Jaden been here for less than a cup of coffee Daniels. But apparently, hey, Jalen Hurts, he wins the Super Bowl, gets the Super Bowl MVP, and he's only the 9th best quarterback in football, according to ESPN, who are the kings of the prisoners of the moment, Cameron. They really are just so good at being prisoners of the moment.
How sad was everybody when Red Zone got bought by ESPN a few weeks ago? How sad was everyone?
And it was, what it was?
Sad. Everyone was real sad. Real sad.
I'll tell you exactly what it was like. It was like finding out that Harry Callis died all over again for me. It was like the end of an era. It was, and I know Scott Hansen, like, he's been a part of so many living rooms over the number of years and what he does for NFL Red Zone. But it was the fact that the NFL Network had a separate style from ESPN that people gravitated towards because there was no art of the take on NFL Network. It was pure cut, prime beef, grade A, non-bullcrap football. That's what it was. That's all it was. And now that it's on ESPN, of course, when Shador Sanders runs in for a touchdown in week 3 for the Cleveland Browns, Red Zone's going to pick it up, and then there's going to be a ticker that says, what does this do for Shador Sanders' legacy? That's what you're going to see. You're going to see that because ESPN, for as great as they are, their greatest folly is their own hype. Their own hype machine more than anything. I'm like philosophical. I'm deep today, people.
Is that how you feel? Yeah, you feeling philosophical?
No, it was a disaster. I was very upset that NFL Network got bought out.
Yeah, no. I mean, so was I. It is what it is. I don't know. Like, it's out of our control anyway, and it was always going to be out of our control. But no, you're right. Like, I don't know. I can just imagine like every touchdown, there's going to be some sort of plug for some sort of other ESPN show or some money grab or. Things are going to be sponsored, right? Like all the time. And it's like, listen, I'm not saying that it shouldn't be. I'm not complaining that it's like the end of the world, but it is annoying. And it was something that was just before, when it was a Sunday ticket, when it was paid for, it was just something that it was just purely itself. No advertisements, nothing in between. There's no halftime shows here. There's no halftime entertainment. There's no nothing. It's just on to the next. What's happening in the other game and move and just constant. But whatever, dude. It is what it is.
By the way, I want to actually, before we hop in everything, I actually want to tell you a story, Cameron, that I think you're going to be super proud of.
Oh.
Because the one thing that Cameron and I bond over, other than sports, because believe it or not, we can talk about more than just sports in life, is Cameron loves when we show off how manly of men we are. And not in the toxic way, in the more of like the, pull yourself up by your bootlaces way. And I think that this weekend, Cameron, you would have been thrilled with me. I went to Pittsburgh. I know. I know. Crazy, I know, for me to go to Pittsburgh. And I was helping my niece move into her college apartment, and I met with her and my brother-in-law. And so I got there, and there was 3 main heavy things to move. One was like this kind of like wide table. One was a dresser and then a couch.
Okay.
And when we got there, what I discovered, what my brother-in-law had discovered the previous day, was that these stairs. It was up. She was on the top floor, so of a 3rd floor apartment. She was on the final floor, and the staircases kind of spiral up to her apartment, and then they're like this narrow. They're just as narrow as can be.
You're basically describing my apartment. Like, I know exactly. I can picture it exactly. Yes, I know what you're going through. Yep, go on.
And so, like, we get the table up fine enough. It was a little heavy, a little clunky to carry up, but, like, it wasn't too bad. Had to stand it up straight a couple times, get it up, but, like, thankfully the table wasn't that bad. We made the smart decision, instead of trying to carry the entire box holding the pieces of the dresser all the way up the stairs because it was very heavy, we just decided let's just do piece by piece. Totally fine, normal as all heck.
Yeah.
The couch. The couch was a bit of a different story. 86-inch couch, and one of those old couches where it's like like that really thick fabric cushioning, and you
good
can't
solid
even
wood. It's like it's not going to bend.
Couldn't take the legs off the couch either.
Right.
So 86 inches, and we get it up. We start to move it up the first flight of steps, and that took us about 5 minutes to get the first flight of steps up, and that is the widest the stairs are. And at that point, I was like, if it was this hard already, I can't imagine what it's going to be like in about 5 more minutes. Second flight of steps, we're getting up, and it was just like we had to get it over and past the one hand railing part of the steps. And it just wasn't happening. We kept getting it wedged between the steps and like the back wall where like one of the apartment doors were. We tried to turn it in a way that would let us get up to the 3rd flight of steps, but it just every time we turned it and tried to pivot, it just wasn't moving. And I thought we were done for. And my mind began to immediately go, how are we getting this thing down the stairs when we give up?
Yeah.
And I'm waiting for my brother-in-law to give the word, because I wasn't obviously going to be the one to give the word. He's the one that brought it up. I'm sure he wanted to do everything he could to get it in there, but it just wasn't going to happen. And then, because the one leg of the couch kept tapping on one of the apartment doors on the 2nd floor, they opened up the door to see what was going on. And we were quickly like, oh, sorry, we're just trying to move a couch up. But then we moved the couch ever so slightly into the doorway of their now open door. They gave us those couple inches more that we needed. And then we were able to turn the couch the way we were. And then we were finally faced with having it where we needed to in the 3rd flight of stairs. And when I tell you narrow, I'm talking, Cameron, your door is about as wide as those stairs were.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. I'm assuming this is an old building.
Oh, very old.
Yeah, okay.
Not well ventilated either. Of course not.
Oh, no, no, none of them were. Yeah.
So we're picking it up, straightening it out as it stands straight up, pivot, move the leg onto the next step, and we're doing this very slowly. And I could finally feel like my butt was like grazing the very edge of the door to my niece's apartment. And finally, I said to my brother-in-law, "Let's just tilt it down and let's just slide it in through the door." And as soon as that couch made its way through the doorway, the biggest smile came over my face. And the only thing I could think to myself was, my brother Grant didn't show up. Didn't need him. I can do this. Look at me. Look at me go. Who needs Grant? I got this.
I loved the twist ending of the story, that it was like an extra thing, because I didn't even know Grant was involved. It was the extra. It was the extra like.
Due to family circumstances, my sister had asked both Grant and I if we could make it up, and in truth, the real story is, both Grant and I would not have needed to go up. Like, it was perfectly capable being handled by Sal and / Grant and I. And Grant's got a 5.5, 6 hour ride from Philly. I've got a 3 hour ride from Harrisburg. So it made far more sense for me to go up as opposed to Grant. And
again, and we'll never know. And that's the end of it. That we'll never know if he was needed, because
we don't need to know.
He wasn't there, and it got done anyway. That's right, dude.
I thought.
Are we gonna hold that against him? Yes. Yes, we are.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, we're gonna bring it up a lot. We're gonna bring it up. Well, you're gonna.
When I see him next Sunday, I'm gonna see him next Sunday, and I'll be sure to mention, like, hey, I got that couch up, and I didn't need you. And I'm not stupid enough to say that to him.
Give him the old sit next to him, slap on the thigh, being like, "Yo, thanks for the help last weekend, buddy. Appreciate it."
You think I should do that, honey?
Got him, dude. Yeah. Got him.
By the way,
no, that's good though, man.
Sitting behind the couch is wonderful girlfriend Miriam. There we go. There you go.
Debut.
Oh, we get you a wave. So if anyone sees me turning around on the YouTube, I'm not talking to no one, I promise.
Right.
But so Cameron, as we talk, getting back to people are moving into college, we're getting closer to fall season and all that stuff, and obviously it comes out with football. Yeah. I've been seeing a lot of different takes. I've been seeing a lot of different opinions, and ultimately where the AFC East goes is are the Buffalo Bills due for regression? Are they going to be the same stalwart that they've been practically the last number of years? Can the Miami Dolphins rectify enough? They now have Minka Fitzpatrick back into the fold. Out goes Jalen Ramsey. Today, interesting, Xavier Howard signs with who did he sign with again? Was that
the Colts?
Was that the Colts?
With the Colts,
yeah,
with the Colts. Yeah, a lot of people. I felt a little uncomfortable with Xavier Howard being back in the league, because there was a reason Miami didn't re-sign him, and that was because of a certain lawsuit that just got settled last year. That I'm just gonna. You can go ahead and Google that. You can go ahead and Google it.
Yeah,
because it's messy. It's really messy. It's really kind of gross, and it's a whole thing. So I was kind of surprised at all that he was signed anywhere. But I in terms of the AFC and the AFC East, I do think it's the Bills, though, right?
I think you can't say that they're not the favorite. You can't. That would be insane.
Dude, they signed which Boza brother did they sign? I'm blanking. Was it Nick or Joey?
What happened to Joey, right?
Yeah, it was one from the Chargers. I can't remember which one's which.
Yeah, that's Joey.
That's Joey. Okay, all right. Yeah. I was watching Hard Knocks the other day, and he just popped up on screen, and I was like, "Oh, that's right. Forgot about that." Yeah, they have right. Mm-hmm.
They let old Von Miller go off to the Washington retirement community, and then
I can't wait to talk about them. I can't wait to talk about the NFC East.
And then they bring in Joey Bosa, and they just signed James Cook to an extension. The biggest question for me about this team is not necessarily will the defense improve from last year, because it was a terrible defense that they had last year. It's really the first time I thought in the Josh Allen era under Sean McDermott that they had a really bad defense, I would say. But they got rid of Kaiir Elam. He's now Dallas's problem. And more than that, are the receivers going to take a step up? Like, is Keon Coleman going to take a step up this year? I thought his rookie year was fine, but like he was a first-round pick, so they're expecting him to be a little bit more than just fine. They're expecting him to be adequate replacement level of a Stephon Diggs, which last year he was not, and Shakir showed up big time. Like, so for the Miami Dolphins, though, to assert themselves in the conversation for the AFC East, I mean, Cameron, the list of things that need to change, the list of things that need to improve, starting mainly the defense, has to be an improvement. It has to be. Mm-hmm. There's just no justification for another year of what they went through last year. And especially now with Vic Fangio is commanding a top group in Philadelphia, it made that group look bad last year, injuries aside.
Yeah. There's a lot I want to say. Right? I knew we were going to talk about football, and I knew obviously mine was going to come up, so I didn't know exactly which order we were going to be dumping into things. But there's a lot I want to say, especially regarding Miami's defense. And you're right. When Vic Fangio left, I immediately had a bad taste in my mouth because I thought to myself, I'm like, what does that mean? Does that mean Vic Fangio is washed up, which could be, or it doesn't mean that Miami is just not in tune with that style of coaching, which I don't necessarily love, and always like hard-assed, hard-nosed kind of coaching. Yeah, but at the same time, if the results speak for the results, it is what it is, right? Yeah. And it's football at the end of the day. It's competitive sports. It's professional sports. It's not always going to be nice. So I had a bad taste in my mouth, and then of course seeing what he did with the Philadelphia Eagles, with a team that is not afraid to be pushed and not afraid to be soft or afraid to be weak or whatever. It was a tough pill to swallow. And on top of that, you had guys like Jordan Brooks, linebacker from Miami, after the Green Bay game, which was, I believe, played on Black Friday last year, saying how calling the team out directly, being like, we were soft. I don't know what the deal is in cold weather games. I don't know why. Like, that was an embarrassing performance by us, and we should be embarrassed. It was soft, and we played weak. So it wasn't just like an external thing of people pointing out. It was happening internally too. And then you kind of hear a lot of stuff after so far in the offseason from interviews, podcasts, whatever. Yes. Jalen Ramsey being one of them, saying how he's glad to be at a place that respects the head coach, which is kind of saying a lot and also saying nothing at the same time.
Not with Tomlin.
I kind of felt a little weird too. I was just sort of like, don't get me wrong, Tomlin deserves respect because he's always able to get the most out of his teams. But like, I was like, sure, but
But I'll say this, like, real quick tangent on Tomlin.
Yeah,
they have not won a playoff game since 2016.
No, you're right. Yeah,
and that remember who they beat in 2016? That was Matt Moore and the Miami Dolphins. Like, yeah. That's like I can't be impressed with that.
Dare I say Tannehill's in that game? I don't know.
I know. Everyone forgets the stretched ACL. Who knows what would have happened?
Yeah, RT17, one of the best quarterback I've seen in a Dolphin uniform. Unless Tua can stay healthy. But
what a disgrace to Jay Fiedler! How dare you?
Hey, don't throw dirt on Chad Pennington's name. Do I need to bring up Cleo Lemon? No. Sorry, we could be talking all day. But,
oh gosh, we could do a whole episode on that. We could do a whole episode on quarterbacks.
Dude, but the Dolphins defense, there are things to like. There are a lot of things to like, to be honest with you. They didn't really have they only had one defensive tackle going into this offseason. They now have four. With Kenneth Grant, Benito Jones, Nick Sealer signed long term, and I forget the fourth guy. They have great edge rushers as long as they can stay healthy. But seemingly, I'm not going to necessarily worry about that. They have Bradley Chubb. They have Jalen Phillips. They now have signed Matt Judon, which I kind of think is a little interesting. Kind of confusing, but
was that deal official? I saw that he was down for a visit. I didn't know if the deal was official.
Yeah, 1 year, $6 million.
I mean, I felt like his peak with the Patriots. Well, he was a great Raven first before he was a great, like a decent Patriot. Yeah. But his time with the Falcons did not speak kindly to his diminishing value on the football field.
No, and that's why I'm going to get into that in a second, because the linebackers themselves as well, very deep linebackers. Like in terms of defensive line, in terms of edge rushers and linebackers, I'd say Miami's one of the more talent stacked teams in the league. But then you get to the secondary, and you're looking at one of the most depraved positions out of any unit in the entire NFL.
Yes,
in my opinion.
Right. At a position for them that was once a strength. All you have to do is go back 4 or 5 years, and Byron Jones and Xavier Howard, and they had Minka had been traded and everything, but they had other guys.
You have Rashad Jones. You had
Jalen
Ramsey last year. Javon Holland they drafted, and their safeties are still pretty solid with the Minka Fitzpatrick trade and all that kind of stuff. But their cornerbacks, their number one going into this season from the offseason was Kader Coe, who was a number 3 last year, and then he blew his ACL. And then they signed guys like Artie Burns, who was, again, an average cornerback at best throughout the league. Right.
He's what you call a jag. He's just a guy.
Yeah. And guess what? He gets hurt, too, so you lose him as well. So they're depraved there. They signed Jack Jones, which I like, but it's also confusing, right? Because it's like, that's a talented guy. That makes sense. But you let guys like Javon Holland go, right? You traded away Jalen Ramsey. Let a lot of guys go, and a lot of them you cited for, well, cultural reasons. But then you bring in a guy like Jack Jones, who within the last 2 years has gotten in trouble with bringing a gun to the airport.
Yeah,
you still have Tyreek Hill.
We don't need to go into the litany of issues with Tyreek Hill, obviously.
I mean, right. And then again, you sign Matt Judon, who doesn't really have off-field like issues like that, but he is a guy who, let's be honest, kind of quit on the Patriots. He was told not to show up to practice at one point out of his disciplinary measure, just walks out on the field, ends up getting into a verbal altercation with the head coach and getting thrown off the team, traded down to Atlanta. And then Atlanta kind of puts together one of his worst seasons. And don't get me wrong, he's getting older, right? He's still a great player. I still think he has value.
How old is he?
I don't know.
He's got to be, I would think, early 30s, like 32 or 33 years old.
That's my thought, too. I don't want to misquote him or get it wrong. You're 33. 33,
yeah.
Yeah. And again, still has a lot of value, but you desperately need cornerbacks, desperately, and yet you sign a linebacker when you're already stacked at linebacker and edge rusher, and you're also bringing in a guy who, again, doesn't really seem to be a major cultural influence to the team.
That part is most concerning because you then have to question what's his drive, what's his motivation to play. And I will say this. I think the reason you bring in a Matt Judon is because you obviously know that your cornerbacks are a position of weakness at this point. And then you have to ask yourselves, so how can we lessen the load off them? Well, if we get a defensive line and linebacking core that can rush the quarterback really quick and we can have 55, 60 sacks, 65 sacks in a season, that's going to take a lot of pressure off the cornerbacks, which is true because listen, I'm an Eagles fan. Everyone knows that listens to the show. The best way to beat a team is to get to their quarterback, right? But the caveat to that is if you don't, right? If you run into a team that has a really good offensive line, or maybe a quarterback that's just mobile enough to make plays on his feet, like, I don't know, it's not like there's a Josh Allen in your division or anything you have to deal with.
Right. Like, let's say you end up going for Josh Allen, Lamar, Patrick. If you're really serious about being like, we want to be a contender, you got to worry about containing those guys. And it's rare. Honestly, it's very rare that you're ever able to do that.
This is exactly where I then ask, are the Miami Dolphins a country club mentality? Are they happy? You brought something up when we were on the phone the other day. You talked about, whether it was Hill or whoever, talking about, bringing, butts into the seats, right? And I thought, how depressing that is, that his first thought isn't about, that the Dolphins would be making moves to win games, but rather just to, get ticket revenue and jersey sales and stuff like that. And I realized in that moment, when you start having those conversations about bottom lines, it's a business, you got to get as much green as you can back into your bank account. At that point, what happens to the team is that it becomes a country club mentality, and that you're happy to be competitive. You're happy to put together a fun product. You're happy that, Tua can throw an 80-yard bomb to a Jalen Waddle or to a Tyreek Hill. But when it comes to substance and it comes to grinding out a tough game in December in Buffalo with the division on the line, it doesn't feel, at least from the perspective of the front office, that is a main priority for them. And then you look at the cornerbacks and you look at the secondary, and I'm sorry, Mr. Klein, Bill, I think you're amazing. I love you, man. I love you to death. But your team, that's not what a championship caliber team does. It's just not. And I can say that not just because I'm an Eagles fan. although it helps.
It does help. It does.
I can say that because we've watched enough football. You know, like Tom Brady.
Yes,
I know that we talk about Tom Brady. Like I like to be disrespectful about Tom Brady because I think it's funny.
Of course,
but like the guy took pay cuts to so that way the Patriots could bring in the best possible players at their positions to keep the dynasty going. The Kansas City Chiefs. There's a reason why their model is working, and it isn't just simply because Patrick Mahomes is the most talented player on the planet. It is because that Andy Reid brings in a structure. He brings in a strict, regimented structure that worked in 14 years, give or take a couple years where it wasn't working in Philadelphia, and then went to Kansas City, a team that had been 2-14 the year before he got there, and a mess of messes. Remember Todd Haley was their head coach?
Mm-hmm.
He takes that and immediately turns them into winners. And even like other examples, go back in time. I'm talking way, way back in the day. I'm talking when it was all about the traditions of the Washington Redskins football team. That was a team. Joe Gibbs. You were not just gonna be happy to be good under Joe Gibbs or Big Tuna or all of these coaches that we revere now in football lore. And I look at Mike McDaniel, great offensive mind, fantastic offensive mind.
Yes.
And Cameron, you've said it best before. He'd make a great offensive coordinator, a fantastic one.
Like I'm happy with what he's done this offseason. I think he has been holding some players more accountable, and he's been doing what he can. I believe he's genuine. In terms of changing the culture there, but I think you can only do so much with the personnel that you're given, and he does not have full control of the personnel. That's Chris Greer. That's the front office. That's all of that.
And Greer is one of those. It's like, how do you still have a job at this point?
Like today was another one. You signed Matt Judon, a big name guy. A lot of people know Matt Judon. But Matt Judon's 33 years old and he's a linebacker, and you have 5 of those already. So what are we doing? Again, it's another reason why you go on, and I'm just curiosity. I wanted to FanDuel today, just look at futures, and I'm looking at them right now.
Oh my gosh!
One of the future specials, plus 100, Dolphins, Browns, Saints, and Titans to each miss the playoffs.
You're being
the Dolphins locker room is talking about how
linking in that,
like. The Dolphins locker room is talking about how, hey, we're contenders. We want to really compete. We want to do whatever. But you're being put in the same category as the Saints, who bottomed out last year, who don't know what they're doing with their quarterback. He quit a month ago, officially.
He did quit, yeah.
The Browns, who have 6 quarterbacks, 4 of them they can't use. So they got
the
40-plus-year-old.
Today, Joe Flacco was named the Week 1 starter.
He's the guy. And then you have the Titans.
Joe Flacco. Oh, my God, he's 40 years old. He's starting your Week 1 game. What is going on?
And then you have the Titans, who had the number 1 overall pick. And don't be wrong, I like Cam Ward. I think he's going to be fine, but they're going to stink. Yeah. And are they more fun? Like you just said, putting butts in the seat because you're going to have a deep bomb to Tyreek Hill, a deep bomb to Jalen Waddle, fast, speed, fun. Is it going to be more fun? Yeah, it's more fun than what it used to be. But as a Dolphins fan, and I think I can speak for a lot of Dolphins fans here, I didn't go through a season where we went 5-11 for this. I didn't get outscored 90 points in week 1 and 2 between the Ravens and the Patriots for this. I did that. I went through that as a fan. I tortured myself as a fan going through that for something more concrete. For some real actual competition. And this isn't it. This is some Las Vegas rinky-dink. We're pretending like
it's a fly-by-night operation. That's what they're treating.
Yes.
That's what the storied Miami Dolphins, the team that employed Don Shula, still the winningest coach in NFL history. That is what they have relegated themselves to.
Still the only organization to have an undefeated season, to not have a single digit in their lose column.
There's a reason why they call it the curse of the 72 Dolphins, because once you get to 9, 10, maybe even 11-0, the ghosts of Larry Zonka, they start creeping up your backside a little bit, and then you end up not winning all of the games. And I watched the Eagles fall apart against a terrible Washington Commanders team a couple years ago, and I remember thinking to myself, that's the team that's going to cost us a chance of being like the 72 Dolphins? That's the team. Okay.
I remember going into the halftime of that game and thinking to myself, I'm like, yeah, Washington's going to...
Actually, I remember the word for word you told me. You said, up until this point, we hadn't really seen them losing a ton at halftime. You said, now we're going to learn something about them. How are they when they're not, doing all that well at halftime? And for that week at least, it didn't look great because they kind of fell apart. There were a few plays that didn't go their way. But if we're gonna quickly, I want to take a break, and then I want to talk a little bit about preseason hockey and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I want to quickly turn over to the Eagles.
Yes.
First and foremost, I'm sorry, I said Eagles. Let me rephrase. The proper name is the Super Bowl 59 defending champion Philadelphia Eagles. Entering their season as the defending champions. They won the Super Bowl 40-22. Really, it was 40-6 over the Kansas City Chiefs.
Olivia reminds me every moment she can.
It's 46.
It's 46.
46.
It's 46.
When you score your touchdown, when you score that second touchdown, Kansas City, after Nick Sirianni has been given his Gatorade bath, it was 40-6.
Yeah.
T Swizzle did not get proposed to that night, very tragically. I felt bad.
It's coming.
You know what, Cameron? I think it's coming. I agree.
It is coming.
I think she's going to marry him. I think she's definitely going to do it.
I'll be honest. They look happy together. You know?
Yeah, they do, and that's good for.
That's good. Yeah.
I fear for her fans because her fans have kind of lived off of her being single. I mean, if you were a traditional, if you're a grassroots Swiftie, right? Like, some people like T Swizzle, and they're not like Swifties, and like they're just like, okay, well, good for her. But in this case, I fear for those people because they are going to. I mean, they're going to treat it like the stock market crash of 1929. It's going to be a disaster for them.
Yeah, and Travis Kelce's it's a lot of personality.
A lot to handle.
A lot of personality to accept.
Let me ask you, who do you think? Do you think it's possible? Because I've often said that he's like the more bombastic of the two now between the two brothers.
Yeah,
I just have a feeling that Jason got away with more, despite being on the same level of kind of like a rapscallion, that kind of thing.
What do you mean?
I just feel like that Jason was able to get away with more because he could make himself look a bit more polished, where Travis might have been a bit like he wasn't as good at charming his way out of trouble. Like Jason probably like kind of knew how to avoid trouble.
I could see that.
That's my
I
thought.
can maybe see that.
That's my thought.
I could see that. But I have something about the personality speaks where it's like Jason learned earlier on.
Oh, he's older, yeah.
So like he learned by doing the mistake, whereas Travis didn't have to do the mistake and deal with the repercussions because Jason could have just been like, "Hey, this is what's going to happen." But I don't know. I can see that though.
So Philadelphia comes into this year. They obviously lost quite a few pieces defensively. Milton Williams, Josh Sweat, chief among them. They did not bring back Isaiah Rodgers. Mekhi Becton left the offensive line for greener days, and by greener I mean cha-ching with the Los Angeles Chargers. But Philadelphia is very much a lock and reload team, kind of like another dynasty that I saw for years and years. They like to they can replace pieces where they feel they need to. However, this was also a year in which Howie Roseman preached and asked for patience from the fan base. And ordinarily, I hate those types of requests, but when you've just won the Super Bowl, you do get at least a year of grace from me, where if you don't go 15-2, I'm not going to lose my head. Like, if you go 11-6, at 12-5, I'm not going to lose my mind.
Yeah.
But the question is, Cameron, in the landscape of the NFC, and you look at the contenders around the Eagles, so we'll see what the Vikings are with J.J. McCarthy, but they were 13-4 last year, or 14-3, I should say.
Yep.
The Lions were 15-2, and if not for half their franchise being on IR, maybe beat Washington in the divisional round, and so you never know what happens from there.
They do.
Washington has become the retirement party because they now have Bobby Wagner, they have Von Miller, they have old man Zach Ertz, they have they have so many old players, it's not even funny. They have Marshawn Lattimore, who's getting up there in age, and then they have a young stud at quarterback in Jaden Daniels. You still have the Cowboys, which people think the Cowboys will be at least relevant because Dak Prescott should be healthy this year, and he is a good quarterback.
They still have talent. I just think the issues going on in the locker room there are really starting to stack up.
Well, we'll talk about those guys in a second.
Yeah.
Green Bay had a very disappointing 2024, like very, very disappointing.
Yeah, I'm wondering to see how long it's going to be. I think he's just returning to practice this week, I believe.
Yeah, that's not a great sign. That's not a great sign.
Yeah.
And then San Francisco, who, and I know that the Rams are also in this conversation, but I probably put them a little bit below the Niners. With everyone seemingly like no more Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk it's kind of still like up in the air of like, are you going to be back to normal? You're coming off of a major injury. You had the whole huge contract holdout the year before. You finally sign it, and then you're almost invisible on the football field. Brock Purdy, all things considered, Brock Purdy was actually pretty good, I thought, last year, despite the fact that he played with no team. Christian McCaffrey might never be the same again. Yeah. And so I guess I'm asking you, Cameron, is Philadelphia the number one? Are they the team to beat in the NFC coming into this year?
Yeah.
I think it's pretty cut and dry to me.
I like really like the Lions are up there, the Commanders are up there, but until they do it, the team that did it is the team that needs to be beat. San Francisco, I think, is going to me. San Francisco is always either in the NFC Championship game or not making the playoffs, and I think this is going to be one of those not making the playoff seasons. I think, especially if Chris McCaffrey goes down again, it's done. It's done.
Is he even going to be available week one? Is he?
I don't know, and I just think like this has always been kind of his career, right? He's been in and out of the lineup. Full seasons where he crushes, full seasons where he doesn't play at all. And I just think, like, at the age that he's getting to, he's up there. I don't know exactly how old he is. I would imagine he's at 30.
He's right around there.
I just don't think
eighth year in the league.
I don't think it doesn't get better from that point on, especially as a running back. I think it's going to be more and more injury prone things, and it's going to be more and more reliance on Brock Purdy. And I like Brock Purdy too. I'm with you. I think he played well last year. I like the guy. I think he's a fine quarterback, but I don't think he's the guy who can carry your team. Which we've seen. So yeah, I think they're pretty much out. And when you take them out, it's pretty much just the Eagles, the Lions, and the Commanders. And the Lions, super fun to root for. All of America's rooting for them. Love the coach. Pretty much running it back with a lot of the same players as long as they're healthy. They are, they're fun. But the Commanders, I know everyone's very, very high on them. That's cool. But the Eagles are still the Eagles. They're still the standard in the NFC.
I liked what you just. I agree. I think that for Philadelphia, they've been to 3 Super Bowls in the last 8 years. They've won 2 of them. Howie Roseman has completely changed the narrative on, like some say Howie Roseman solidified his bust in Canton when the Eagles defeated the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, which I agree with. I think that he's a 2-time Super Bowl executive. Yeah, he's probably a Hall of Famer at this point.
To go from what happened post Carson Wentz to this,
you can take it back to when he got thrown in the closet by Chip Kelly. He has been on the brink 2 times, and each time he has risen from the ashes to create Super Bowl caliber rosters. It is actually incredible what he's been able to do. But like the Eagles' leadership from above, it starts with Jeff Lurie, and Jeff Lurie's commitment to winning, not just being watchable. But when he bought the team in 1994, you got to remember what the Eagles were in 1994. They were competitive. The late 80s, early 90s Eagles were competitive, but they were not the Niners. They were not the Cowboys. They were not the Giants. And all those other great teams in the AFC at the time, like the Steelers and the Chiefs and the Chargers and all.
Some would say they're fun to watch, but not a real contender.
Fun, but not a contender. And it's funny to me just how much the narrative has changed, because the Miami Dolphins in 1994, 1993 would have been seen as like they got Dan Marino. You never know. They're a gold standard of football. And you look now in 2025, and the Eagles have kind of established themselves as, if they're not the absolute premier organization in the NFL, they are in the top 3, no doubt. I would put them up there with Kansas City. And if I had to pick another franchise, I'd probably pick the Packers, just because the Packers have a standard of being always competitive and always usually contenders.
Yeah, fair.
But what I think I admire most about this Eagles team is the fact that when they won in 2018, it didn't feel sustainable what they had done because of the roster, the age, and also, Foles had won the Super Bowl, and we knew he wasn't a viable starter. This roster is the second or the third youngest roster in football. An all-world defense led by 2 rookies last year who were incredible, and they're all, you hope that they only continue to get better.
Yeah.
And seemingly a offensive core led by Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith, and A.J. Brown with this insatiable quest for winning.
Yeah.
The only question is, does that insatiable lust for winning become a detriment, or is it what, leads them to, heights greater than any other Eagles team has ever seen? Clearly, we saw how great it could be in Super Bowl 59, but sustained success is an extremely hard thing to accomplish. And that is going to be something that I'm going to be looking for the Eagles to prove on night one. Do the things that worked for you last year, and also be willing to adjust when it's not working, like they did last year. That's how you sustain success. Adapt.
Yeah. And I would say this too, like to answer your question about like will that insatiable desire for winning be enough, or will it be a detriment? And again, I can't stand him, but ask Tom Brady. How did it work for him?
This is true.
Because he's got a ring for every day of the week. And granted, some have asterisks next to them. We admit that, but still, the truth is the truth. And the other thing too, to kind of add to your thing here, we say it a lot. Said it with Dan Marino. We said it with Joe Burrow. A lot of quarterbacks get to the Super Bowl, don't win it, and they never go back. This is a team that got to the Super Bowl, didn't win it, and was back 2 years later, 3 years later, and won it, or 5 years later, and won it.
And I think the thing that
I'm thinking
drives me up a wall. The thing that drives me up a wall is like, Jalen Hurts especially. He can say that he has been the best player on the field in 2 Super Bowls. You know how many players in the NFL can actually say that?
Yeah.
And I'm not talking current. I'm talking history. Who can say that? Outside of like the inner elite greats, that they were the best player on the field in 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah, he's an absolute star of the league, both on and off the field. To me, he is the darling, honestly, of the NFL, because you have a guy like Patrick Mahomes who's just kind of riddled with scandals in terms of his family, his brother especially.
Well, Jackson's crazy.
And you have Jalen Hurts, who's just outstanding. And a lot of people, to me, the debate about whether he's, a top 5, top 10, whatever quarterback, I think also kind of speaks to one of the things that I really, really, really love about him, is that the guy's not perfect. No human is. But he puts everything he can into it, and he shows up when he needs to. And that's pretty much all you can ask for, is to show up when you absolutely need to. And he does time and time again. You have to see, I'm sure you've seen it, but the Rich Eisen gushing over Jalen Hurts.
Oh my gosh, I've watched that video on YouTube probably 1,000 times. I love, firstly, Rich Eisen. One of the best voices ever.
Oh, phenomenal.
Ever.
Phenomenal. Absolute outstanding journalist, outstanding interviewer. Amazing. Great guy.
That's who you should aspire. Don't worry about being a Skip Bayless. Be a Rich Eisen. Be a Rich Eisen. Dude.
Yeah.
Real quick, Super Bowl 60 winner odds on FanDuel.
Oh no.
Eagles are tied for first in top odds. They're a plus 700. Can you guess the other 2 teams with the top odds at a plus 700?
I'm gonna guess the Chiefs are in there.
No, they are actually plus 800.
Oh, okay.
Some Chiefs doubt out there.
The Lions? Throwing the Lions in there?
Lions are plus 1,100.
I have a feeling I know what one of them is, and it's going to piss me off a little bit. Is one of them Washington?
No, it is not.
Thank God. Okay, all right.
Washington is plus 2,000.
Then I'm not sure.
Plus 700, the Baltimore Ravens.
Okay, yep. Makes sense. Great team.
And then plus 700 are the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, okay, interesting.
And I'll tell you what right now. I obviously want the Eagles to win the Super Bowl every year. But you mentioned how America kind of roots for the Detroit Lions. Mm-hmm. How about getting a Detroit Lions Buffalo Bills Super Bowl in the future?
It'd be fun. That'd be cool.
Even like Ravens. Yeah. I mean, the Ravens have won already a couple Super Bowls now, but like even Baltimore Ravens, Detroit Lions, or Ravens versus. I'm not going to ever want the Commanders to get in the Super Bowl. I'm sorry. But like maybe like Ravens versus a team like the Packers. That would be like kind of fun.
Yeah, I'd be happy for Lamar too. Like as much as I don't love the Ravens, I've seen them win it enough. I would be happy for Lamar Jackson. I'm a big fan of Lamar Jackson. So that's cool. That'd be cool. I can live with that.
I want to switch gears, Cameron.
Yeah.
Flyers.
Yeah,
they're coming around. I don't know if you know this.
Yes. Madeline Campbell. Madeline Campbell had the first 25 under 25. Just the people who missed the cut.
Ooh,
the honorable mentions. Yeah. What
I want to get to that. I also want to ask you something.
Yeah.
The Flyers' power play has been anything but for the last number of years. Let's be honest, but last 2 really stick out. Last year, the Flyers were 31 for 254 in the power play for a god-awful 12.2%.
Jesus Christ.
Last year, they were 15%. You think, all right, some improvement here. But what if I told you that the Flyers only scored one more power play goal last year on simply 40 less opportunities. So they were 32 of 214 last season, as opposed to being 31 of 254 in 23-24. Does that dim you a little bit? Like,
Yeah. But also, like, I'm not shocked. That makes any sense? Like, I'm just like, that is upsetting. I did not know that. That's upsetting.
I took some wind out of your sails on that one.
But also, like, I also watched the team last year, so it's also just like, yeah, they did look like they sucked every time we pretty much watched them. So, like, it's not surprising, but it is like, it's one of those things that people bring up a lot, right? Where it's like, we talk about with a team like this, you talk about the improvements from day one to day two. You're not talking about, hey, they didn't want to stand the cup, because they're not going to. You talk about what did improve, and a lot of people bring up the power play. Went from 12 to 15%, and that's only with Michkov. That's what I hear all the time. That's only with Michkov. It's true. Not as much now, apparently. That's tough. Only one more goal. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And
also, it makes me think of all the times that, like, Philly was on the power play and then just did some dumb shit. And now we're on 4-on-4s, and it's like, how often did that happen? And I don't know. I don't know. I might just be angry, but
how many times?
Yeah.
And it's going to happen again this year, Cameron. And I know I'm going to get angry.
Mm-hmm.
How many times we're going to watch them on the power play where they can't? I mean, they can't even execute a zone entry. They just can't. It's just what it is.
Michkov.
Michkov and maybe Zagreus?
He says he doesn't want to dump it. He's like, I don't like dumping it.
Well,
I'm not about dumping it. I like carrying it in. I like that. I like that.
I mean, I would say take the straight jacket off of him a little bit if I'm Rick Tocchet, and let him go be his, let him go. Listen, the last head coach, who I idolized for years to become a Flyers head coach, and then when he finally did, it was, fool's gold. We'll see if Rick Tocchet can be better at unleashing a power play in Philadelphia, and Michkov's going to have to be at the forefront of that. But with Zagreus as well, he's another big time. Jamie Drysdale, Zagreus. You have obviously Michkov. You still have Konechny, he's a productive player for sure.
Yeah.
A productive player.
Yeah.
And also, Cameron, you mentioned the 25. The top 5 under 25. Under 25.
Yeah.
Because our very own Madeline Campbell from Broad Street Hockey went through and gave some honorable mentions who were the young players that are just on the outside of this list. Yeah. And I have to say, Maddie does such a great job because she does a great job, like, covering, like, the younger guys. She did great, like, kind of draft analysis when we went over that a few months ago.
She's big with the Phantoms as well. For those that don't know her, don't visit our website. First of all, if you're not visiting the website,
what are you doing?
What are you doing? How dare you? But no, she's big with the Phantoms. If you're ever in the mood or in the need, and you're like, I need to know Phantom shit, Madeline Campbell's the one.
Maddie Campbell, definitely. And also, she honestly makes me feel so much better about the farm situation, or at least I feel more informed about the farm situation after reading her stuff.
It's not a monster in the closet, you at least know what you're dealing with.
But guys like Carson Dolwart, are mentioned here. Matthew Gard, center. Alex Chernak, Heki Ruhanen. If I'm saying that wrong, I do apologize. And honestly, though, Cameron, the Flyers draft seemingly went really well. Like, on paper, we were all kind of satisfied with what the Flyers got. And it was like, oh, okay, so the Flyers, all right, so, they're listening to their scouts a little bit. This wasn't, with the Luchenko draft, everyone was just like, that's a reach. We're not thrilled with that one.
Yeah.
This year was like a different feel. And when I talk about, the reason I mentioned, like, the top 25, under 25 is because this is a young Flyers team. We're going to see a lot of cool things, I think, in the preseason. I almost am more excited about the preseason, Cameron, than I am the regular season, just because I know we'll have a chance to see younger players in the preseason and see what they look like. Chief among them, will Jet Luchenko do enough to actually make the team and stick with the team this year?
Yeah, especially him, considering the signings that they did make, and they kind of have a full lineup almost. So it's kind of almost makes it a little bit tougher for him too. So it's like, if he's able to push that extra bit and make the team, that would be really, really rad. Kind of same with Mikhail Grabankin as well. I'm very interested to see how he does. But no, you're right, dude. That's exactly kind of like, I don't know exactly. I know we're going to discuss it a little bit later on, but like, I know Broad Street's going to be doing a lot of stuff on the YouTube channel in terms of the 25 under 25. some live stream stuff like that, which I'm really, really excited about. And for the exact reason you just mentioned, which is the young team. Like there are a lot of the best players in the team are going to be on this list, which is kind of saying something. Which is kind of stinks because you're like, a lot of these are prospects, but it makes it very exciting for the future, and it makes preseason actually something to watch, like you just mentioned, because you are going to see names that you can actually recognize, and you will be able to recognize within a couple of years. And what's also really cool is that like a lot of these players seem to really, really understand all of this because of the transparency with the front office. Was reading an article again with Porter Martone and him, why he went to go back to Michigan State went to Michigan State instead of trying to make the team possibly. And his whole thing was, I think the quote was, I wanted to do whatever is best for me 5 to 10 years down the line when we're going to be competing for a Stanley Cup.
Yep.
And the fact that at his age now, just being drafted by the team, he's had this discussion with the front office, and that is his mindset. The fact that kind of all these guys at the age that they are all on the same page there, it makes this entire process extremely exciting. It's kind of one of the highlights of our season, which sucks. But I don't know. We always joke the 2 to 3 years away, but it's just, I don't know. This feels a little bit different, and maybe I'm just naive. But I think it starts here with the 25 What's up?
We talk about, like, what will Flyers fandom finally return to glory? ESPN made a sports misery index that actually was covered. Does ESPN Sports Misery Index accurately reflect Flyers fans' agony? This was Ryan Gilbert who posted this just a few days ago on the 15th. And I just, as you were talking, I decided to pull up the misery index. Now, 100 being the most miserable. And I put in, I'm a Flyers fan of 15 plus years. I started rooting for this team in 2004. My first season watching them. Good year to watch the Flyers, by the way. They went all the way to the Eastern Conference Final. It's my favorite team, my favorite Flyers team ever.
Yeah.
And they got an 86 out of 100 on the misery scale. 86. Now, I just want to delete them real quick. I just want to see what the Philadelphia Eagles get. I get they're a 0.
Yeah, you're on top of the world,
Super Bowl, right? Okay, hold on. Now let's try.
Put the Phillies. What about the Phillies?
We're gonna put the Phillies in, okay?
Yeah.
Now
on the up and
Phillies,
up. NLCS champs from 5 years ago. Within the last 5 years,
20 on misery rating. But
that feels accurate.
Now here's where it needs to come into play. How about the Philadelphia 76ers?
Oh God, it's got to please be higher. If it's not higher than the Flyers, I'm going to be upset.
The Flyers got an 86. The 76ers get an 88.
Oh, thank God. Yeah. Because as a Sixers fan, I'm more angry with them, which is saying something. Because I cover this team, so it's torture. And I'm still angrier with the basketball team out of that city than I am with the team that I cover.
We've had 1 year on this podcast, Cameron, where we covered the Flyers and like we could talk a little smack because the Flyers were fun to watch 2019, 2020.
Yep.
And it felt like that year, it was like, oh my God, we picked the best year imaginable of the last half decade to start a podcast on the Flyers because of how great it was going. And
get in early. Yep. Yeah.
Like I just want to remind everyone, with a core of Phil Myers, Travis Sanheim, Joel Farabee, Morgan Frost, Claude Giroux, Scott Lawton, Ivan Provorov, and Matt Niskanen, led by Alain Vigneault. Oh, and Carter Hart. You can't forget about him. The Flyers are going to be a team of destiny. And you could take that destiny and shove it right back down my throat, which is what the Flyers did about 8 months later after that feeling. I also want to make mention. I know no one that follows Broad Street Hockey feels, or at least I don't think many that follow Broad Street Hockey feel this way.
What?
I did see some clamors for a certain goaltender now that charges have not, charges have been dropped, or not, I guess dropped, or just found not guilty, whatever the case was.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I understand we need a goalie. I'm not saying the Flyers don't need a goalie. No.
Yeah.
No. He wasn't even that good enough to excuse such behavior. You can never excuse such behavior, but if you're one of those guys that finds reasons to excuse behavior based on performance of play, he wasn't even that good to do that.
Yeah. No, it's not. Yeah. Just save your breath. Yeah. Or don't, and then get fired from your job, hopefully, because they find out that you want that to happen, and that's fine. You reading out made me feel nauseous. The whole just the lineup.
I think it's. I'll tell you why I read it out though, because it is an important reminder that the Flyers were not close.
Yeah,
and I got to tell you the truth. I'm cautiously pessimistic with Tocchet in charge.
Yeah.
Because let's just say the Flyers go to the playoffs this year. Tocchet was a one-year wonder with the Vancouver Canucks. Why would I think that the hardest thing to do in sports is to sustain success? If you're a one-year wonder, at least win the cup. That would be what I would ask. Because if you're going to go right back to be the St. Louis Blues, they won the cup and they were never again close to getting back to those heights. It feels good in the moment, but I don't know. I would like to be the Colorado Avalanche. I would like to be the Washington Capitals. I would love to be I know that they're not good now, but the Pittsburgh Penguins. I'd love to be the Pittsburgh Penguins for a little bit.
Yeah.
Give me 20 years of being always a contender and win a cup here and there.
Yes. I mean, the Bruins only won one in 2011, but I mean, shit, I would take 15 years of that. Yeah, they were always in it. They were always relevant. You had something to look forward to, something to, I'm tired of the apathy.
I agree.
Of just the oh God, the Flyers are on. All right. I get paid for it, so
And on that lovely note, as we get ready for preseason hockey, as preseason football continues, and we get ready for college football, that brings a close to another terrific edition of the Fly Guys podcast. I'd like to once again just give a nice big shout out to our lovely MC who introduced us, Ilana Fega. Very much appreciative. Love you, kid. And also for everyone who is wondering, am I going to be insufferable this season if the Eagles are good again? Oh my goodness, No, actually, I'm gonna do what I always do. I'm gonna be classy about it, and I'm just going to continue to pray for a win each week. That's what you do. Cameron, remember what I told you? Remember what I told you last year? How I get so stressed out, I don't even have fun watching my own team.
Mm-hmm.
And you said that is an insanely toxic relationship to have with your favorite team.
Yeah.
When you've won a Super Bowl the next year after, you can back off on that just a little bit. You still passionate, but you understand that it's hard to win every year.
Yeah. Yeah. But at the same time, that's your
right. I'll be throwing up. Don't worry, I'll be throwing up.
No, but are you going to be in people's faces about winning? Yeah. That's your right. You won the Super Bowl. Yeah. And if your team ever does, I hope you do too.
Against two teams, I will do that too. The Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
And you might think I might say the Kansas City Chiefs, but we already beat them, so I'm not as interested in them.
Yeah.
I want to beat the Washington Commanders 2 times this year. If the Eagles are going to go 12-5, give me 2 of those wins against Washington, because I want to make sure that everyone knows you had one year.
I've said it 1,000 times. I'll say it again. Dan Quinn.
That team.
He's the guy. He's the guy. He's the guy who's going to rope in Deebo Samuel and Von Miller while dealing with contract
Terry McLaurin if he ever comes back to the team.
Right. Okay.
All right. Michael Parsons. Let's add a real landmine into that roster. For Cameron Klein, my name is Justin Goodhart. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at Fly Guys Podcast. Be happy, be healthy. Let's go Flyers. Fly Eagles fly. Fins up nation. And until next time. Adios.